Sometimes a woman carries her burdens for years without even realizing it. The roles others have assigned her, the patterns society silently imposes, the subtle pressures she never tells anyone about. An outsider might look and think, everything is fine. Yet this invisible weight has seeped into every tiny line on her face. One morning, perhaps out of nowhere, perhaps because of something stirring inside her, she finds herself standing in front of the mirror. As she looks at her reflection, a slight shiver runs through her. The question, who was I really? Suddenly grows like that big knot she has been putting off and can no longer hide. At that moment, a strange door seems to open. The woman searches for the parts stolen from her, the missing pieces, the silenced voices, the boundaries she ignored. And without realizing it, an inner movement begins. She meticulously rebuilds a value that no one from the outside has given her. This silent process is not flashy, but it has a strange hardness, a power that no one can touch, no one can direct, that belongs only to her, begins to swell. No one notices at first that stirring growing inside, but the woman knows. A small light has been lit there. Then this power takes shape, not with loud slogans, but with a gaze that sets boundaries, a stance that knows when to retreat, and small rituals of its own. The woman no longer cares about the applause of the crowd, but about the peace she has built with her own inner balance. Neither someone's approval weighs heavily on her, nor someone's direction. She settles into her own center. It feels narrow at first, then widens, then becomes a home. And her beauty, perhaps it is not as sparkling as before, but it rises from a much deeper place. It transforms into a power that cannot be multiplied by makeup, fed by flattery, or validated by approval. Simplicity is not a weakness in her, it stands like a sharp clarity. As she calms down, she deepens, and as she deepens, she creates an inexplicable attraction. Even as people pass by her, they feel something they cannot quite name. It hits them like a wave and passes. Because that effect seeps not from words, but from that inner core that hardens when a woman returns to her essence. The untouchable nature of beauty is often hidden in its invisible side. If you're ready, let's start diving deeper. 1. Elegant but subtle jewelry. Sometimes your eye catches on a point. That's where some women's beauty appears, not at first glance, but in those small details that are slowly noticed. The slight sparkle of a ring, a thin chain gently peeking out from the collar of a shirt. Without exaggeration, without forcing anything, with a simplicity that seems to say, I'm here, but I don't want to tell you everything. This lack of exaggeration speaks to how faithful the woman is to her own inner line. Some may not notice, but those who feel it understand her immediately. In fact, such a carefully chosen accessory reveals a person's identity without saying much. A woman who prefers to wear a more subtle piece instead of a flashy earring directs the gaze to her own face, not to the jewelry. It points to her own center, not to showiness. That's why some people can't understand why she looks so right, but their eyes always turn to her. It glides over us like a light. Sometimes it's a sentence no one says, it completes us silently, naturally. Choosing a timeless piece also reveals the continuity in a woman's character. It shows that she is someone who sticks to her own line without getting caught up in the rush of trends. Whatever she wears, the tone of her chosen accessory is always the same, simple, clear, and like a small signature. People remember her by that signature. Even if they forget her name, they never forget that signature. Oversized jewelry dissipates energy, that much is clear. But a minimal piece with clean lines draws the gaze to her facial features, her speech rhythm, her posture. This strengthens her aura. An inexplicable but palpable intensity of attraction emerges. This attraction stems not from glamour, but from a simple sense of confidence. A person's harmony with themselves is sometimes evident even in the way a necklace hangs. And for some reason, these accessories, which seem to have been chosen not with care, but as a natural habit, are also a clue to the attention the woman pays to her own life. There is no effort to show off, it just is. A small but solid habit. Outsiders may not notice it, but energy hides nothing. A person who values herself makes different choices, quiet but powerful. Ultimately, an understated accessory functions like an invisible frame for a woman. It defines her as she is, nothing more, nothing less. People often say, "There's something different about her," but they can't quite put their finger on it. That difference is the sum of these small but carefully chosen details. A woman's beauty becomes untouchable because it bears her signature, a signature that no one can take away. 2. Leave unnecessary words behind and speak more deeply. When sitting next to someone for some reason, you feel more than just their way of speaking. You feel the intention behind the words, the invisible weight carried by the voice. There are some women who speak not to speak, but only when they truly have something to say. They say 2 words, but their impact fills the room, because they carry their words not as decoration, but as a choice. That's why even when they are silent, their sentences echo. The calmness of these women signals a mental order. They have no need for unnecessary chatter. Their thoughts are clear enough within themselves that they don't need to be embellished on the outside. That's why, when you're in a conversation with them, a strange sense of confidence arises, the feeling that whatever she says will be said at the right time. Among those who talk a lot, this clarity stands out like a calmness. Some words have an impact, even without being spoken, as if the air suddenly changes. No one knows why. But choosing to speak little is actually a silent affirmation of one's inner value. Where there is no search for approval, there is no waste of words. Such a woman does not feel the need to explain herself. She does not diminish herself even where she is misunderstood. She doesn't need long speeches to say, "This is who I am." On the contrary, she sets boundaries with a short sentence and leaves the rest to her silence. This behavior arouses curiosity in the other person, because people generally try to exist by talking a lot. She, on the other hand, becomes more visible by being sparing with her words. Being able to speak both simply and impressively is a power that is not easily imitated. The more he remains silent, the deeper he becomes, and the deeper he becomes, the greater his impact. The space between words says more than most people. Speaking concisely and meaningfully is a natural result of a woman's self-confidence. Even if there is a storm inside her, she knows how to gather her words. She expresses herself without conveying her emotions. This control commands respect from the other party, because clarity is always associated with power. One sentence sometimes replaces a long paragraph. The purpose is clear, the direction is clear, the energy is not scattered. 3. Pulling yourself together with small daily rituals. It is strange to realize how much of an impact the tiny moments a person sets aside for themselves actually have. Habits that seem ordinary from the outside, cold water on her face in the morning, holding her breath for a couple of minutes, that first sip of tea drunk alone, mean nothing to anyone else, but they hold the power to pull her together for the whole day. It's as if a door opens that no one else knows about each time. She pulls herself together, returns to her center, calms down a little more. Rituals are actually the invisible love a woman shows herself. They silently remind her, without shouting, "I am worth this." They don't need to last long. In fact, they feel more real when they are short. A facial massage, gently opening her shoulders, looking in the mirror and murmuring a few words. These are like little boxes that no one can see. The woman's strength accumulates inside those boxes. Somewhere inside slowly opens without anyone hearing, without anyone noticing, as if you return to yourself for a moment. The voice of care is always quiet anyway. When these rituals become consistent, a woman's energy begins to flow in a completely different rhythm. The chaos of life remains the same, but she is less scattered, less fragmented. Because those small moments each day when she turns inward give her a kind of direction, people can't describe it. They just say, more organized, more calm, and leave it at that. But what builds this calmness is the faithful repetition of those tiny habits. Even your outward appearance changes over time, because order reveals itself everywhere, in your skin, your posture, the clarity in your eyes. Rituals are not makeup, but they do more than makeup. A face awakened by fresh water, eyes opening after a short breath. Even if unnoticed, these are felt. This is exactly what those who say something is different about you mean. A habit, a breath, a silent moment sometimes brings a person back to themselves. These small rituals also help women build their own private world. No one can touch it. No one can interfere. Even if she is tired, she gathers herself there. When she is broken, she heals there. A woman with such an inner space emerges stronger to the outside world. Her walk, her voice, her presence become more distinct. That indescribable, untouchable feeling comes from here. As you can see, a woman who takes care of herself with small rituals both regulates her energy and creates an anchor for herself. She doesn't waver as the day swirls by. Even if the weather closes in, she lights her own inner light. This is what people can't explain, but feel when they are close to her. A woman who has established her own rhythm carries a deep and calm magnetism unlike any other force. 4. The silent power of looking clean and fresh. Sometimes when you pass by a woman, you feel a strange sense of freshness. You don't understand what's different, but there is a clarity, a composure in her appearance. This effect is not created by makeup or expensive creams, but by the regular, calm and consistent care she shows herself. The cleanliness of her face, the simple style of her hair, that fresh touch in her clothes. All of these convey a wordless message. I take my life seriously. It is this seriousness that adds an untouchable line to a woman's beauty. An outside observer might simply say she is well-groomed, but there is actually something much deeper there. Looking clean is not an aesthetic detail, but a reflection of mental order. A woman who takes care of herself carries a calmness even in the chaos of the day. The light in her hair and the clarity of her skin say that her inner world is not chaotic. That's why people who approach her unconsciously behave more respectfully, more measuredly. Peace wanders on some faces. The reason is often unknown. It is simply the mark left by regular care. Looking fresh is also a habit that renews energy. The body lightened after every shower, the vitality that comes with clean clothes, the small care rituals that allow the skin to breathe. These are small promises a person makes to themselves. I deserve to feel good. Over time, this promise transforms into an appearance. What people mean when they say, "You always look fresh," is actually the result of years of accumulated discipline. A clean appearance also creates a sense of trust in others. Because disarray and carelessness, even if unnoticed, are confusing, they create uncertainty in people's perceptions. On the other hand, a neat and tidy appearance signals, "I can manage myself." This signal has an impact in social relationships, in the workplace, and even in brief encounters. A woman leaves an impression with her posture, even without saying a word. Inner order is always visible on the outside, and the habit of looking clean rejuvenates a woman's energy. No matter her age, a fresh face, simple makeup, a light glow. These are not aesthetic, but the result of a lifestyle discipline. People don't think about how old she is, they think, why does she glow like that? This light is not something taken from the outside. It is part of an order growing from within. 5. Holding on to your own scent. Sometimes you walk through a space and without anyone saying anything, just a faint trace lingering in the air reminds you of someone. The scents women choose work exactly like this. They convey the unspoken, carry invisible memories. That subtle line left by a perfume, a natural essence, is often more lasting than words. It becomes a woman's signature, silently, without haste, without trying to show off. Choosing a scent is actually deciding what kind of energy you want to carry with you. The calmness of a powdery note, the hardness of a woody scent resembling depth, the lightness of a floral tone like a distant smile. All of these are echoes of a woman's inner world. Whichever scent a woman finds herself in most, that scent walks with her wherever she goes. Doors close, but the scent remains. Sometimes a scent lives longer in memory than a person. The voice is forgotten, the face is confused, but the scent, it always stays somewhere. That is why wearing a special scent is not just about smelling good. It is about making one's presence known with an invisible line. When people smell her scent, they unconsciously slow down a little, pay a little more attention. The scent expands the woman's space. Even if she is physically far away, the trace she leaves continues to linger in the space. This makes her energy felt even in her absence. Choosing a scent is also a form of self-care, because a person consciously chooses what to wear only when they value it. The feeling of being put together that a light note applied in the morning gives is the first step a woman takes in her day. In a sense, it is the silent version of the phrase, "I take good care of myself." Even if no one outside notices, the woman walks a little straighter with that scent, feels a little more herself. Sometimes it's like a window opening onto oneself, small but airy. A simple but distinctive scent, when combined with a woman's posture, has a multiplied effect. If someone who appears dignified carries a light floral scent, even this contrast can be captivating. Or a woman walking calmly passing by with deep amber tones can change the atmosphere of the room for a moment. People pretend not to notice it, but they feel it. They always feel it. Ultimately, acquiring a signature scent makes a woman recognizable. It reminds others of her presence even after she has left the room. It leaves an aura without the need for words or glances. One of the most invisible yet powerful elements of intangible beauty is this silent scent trail. 6. Simplicity in clothing, but an inner strength. What a person chooses when looking in the mirror actually says a lot about them. There are some women whose clothes don't scream, yet somehow their presence becomes more pronounced. Simplicity does not make them look weak. On the contrary, it turns into a strong line. The clean lines of a dress, the clear texture of a blouse, the absence of any unnecessary details. All of these resemble a silent statement that says, "I know who I am." Adopting a simple style means maintaining your own rhythm without getting caught up in the speed of fashion. Even if the noise outside changes, a woman does not abandon her line. Behind every season of passing trends, the consistency in her clothes gives people a strange sense of confidence. Whatever she wears, there is consistency. Although it may appear to be visual simplicity, it actually reflects a broad surface of her character. Like a line filtering through the noise, clean, clear, a little stubborn, but that's exactly why it sticks in the mind. Simple clothes leave nothing to distract attention. People start to watch the woman. They focus on her face, the posture of her shoulders, the rhythm of her steps. She knows this, actually. That's why simplicity becomes a kind of power for her. It serves not to hide herself, but to appear clearer. It's a stance that says, "Look, I'm here, but I'm not doing anything to impress you." This choice is also a reflection of an orderly inner world. A woman who knows what works in her closet and what is unnecessary does not carry excess baggage in other areas of her life. Someone who doesn't expend energy even when choosing an outfit is often lighter in their emotional burdens. That's why such women appear calm, but beneath that calmness lies a surprisingly strong will. The simplicity of an outfit is sometimes the most elegant stance a person can take against the crowd. Dressing simply makes a woman both timeless and elusive. It is easy to attract attention with flashy pieces, but attracting attention with simplicity requires much deeper self-confidence. People pass by her and wonder, why does she look so impressive? But they cannot find the answer, because the answer is not in the outfit. It is hidden in the essence behind the lines. Ultimately, a simple yet powerful clothing line clarifies a woman's style and energy. She no longer speaks through her clothes, but through her posture in them. This strengthens her beauty without making it visible. Her value increases silently, her impact felt without explanation. This is precisely the wearable form of untouchable beauty. 7. Building an internal infrastructure that constantly nourishes the mind. Sometimes you look at someone's posture and feel a weight you can't understand. It's not about what they say, but how they are. The deepest source of a woman's untouchable beauty is often hidden not in her face, but in the quiet chambers of her mind. A woman who doesn't see self-improvement as a passing fad, but rather incorporates it into the rhythm of her life, deepens a little more each year. This depth permeates her speech, her walk, even the brief silences she uses when looking at something. A woman who nourishes her mind does not rush to make decisions. She becomes calmer as she learns. As knowledge multiplies within her inner world, the chaos of the outside world affects her less. That is why her self-confidence is not actually visible. It is like a silent center. People cannot explain why they find her impressive, but they intuitively sense that behind her lies a well-honed mind. Her thoughts do not clash, they flow. The whisper of knowledge seeps like water through the noise unheard from the outside, but its echo is great within. As a woman develops, she begins to make sense of the world rather than just observe it. Even a single line in a book creates a new connection within her inner world. An old observation comes into play when she tries to understand a person's behavior. Over time, the pieces connect. These connections sharpen her intuition. She reads people better, solves problems earlier. That's why when she speaks, her words are not empty. Even when she is silent, the other person senses what she is thinking. This mental foundation also increases a woman's emotional resilience. She becomes someone who is not easily shaken or swayed. From the outside, she appears calm, but behind that calmness lies years of accumulated inner discipline. This discipline lends her face not seriousness, but gravitas. That gravitas inspires natural respect in those around her. A deepening mind sometimes touches even the lines on the face. A woman who continues to develop her mind actually becomes simpler with each passing year. As knowledge increases, judgments decrease, and the gaze softens. This makes her energy both unattainable and warm. People feel a little more careful around her because talking to her is not like an ordinary conversation. There is thought behind her words. 8. Knowing when to step aside. One of the hardest things for a person to learn in life is when to step off the stage. Some women know this instinctively. Their stepping back stems not from weakness, but from a consciously chosen stance. Realizing that their influence persists even when they are invisible creates that mysterious aura that sets them apart from others. Disappearing becomes a silent space for renewal in their hands. The woman who steps back doesn't feel compelled to explain herself to anyone. Because she sets her own rhythm, she doesn't have to live at the pace of others. Some may misinterpret her silence, but it doesn't matter to her. That silence is actually a well where she gathers strength. Her energy gathers, her focus clears, and often when she returns, she comes back to the world more herself. One step back is sometimes preparation for 3 steps forward. Not everyone sees this. Not everyone understands it. But disappearing is not running away. On the contrary, it is protecting oneself from wasting energy in the wrong places. Not every relationship, every conversation, every environment nourishes a person. Some women realize this early on. They don't get caught up in unnecessary arguments, the noise of exhausting people, or endless expectations. They withdraw in an instant, the moment they realize the futility. And this decision makes them stronger, because someone who can maintain their boundaries draws an invisible but firm line around themselves. This state of withdrawal also creates a very special balance. Even when the woman is not present, people think about her presence. They ask, "Where is she?" They wonder, "Why is she silent?" This curiosity creates an invisible space around her. Even her absence leaves a mark. Thus, her presence becomes stronger than those who try to be seen in the crowd. Sometimes silence is the most effective armor a person can wear. Disappearing from time to time is also necessary for a woman to hear her own inner voice. The world talks too much. Everyone wants something. Everyone says something. But it is only in silence that a person finds their inner direction. A woman who turns inward sees much more clearly what she deserves, what she will not allow, and with whom she does not want to walk the same path. This clarity reflects outward as a mature confidence. Ultimately, knowing when to step back gives a woman an unattainable intensity. People approach her more attentively, take her words more seriously, and feel her presence more deeply. Because someone who can manage their silence can also manage their energy. And a woman who can preserve her energy has unlocked the most secret doors to untouchable beauty. 9. Breaking free from others' expectations and staying on your own path. Sometimes a person realizes how loud the voices around them are. Everyone says something, everyone points in a direction. But when a woman begins to hear her own goals, the noise outside loses its meaning. Someone who sets their own compass from within is no longer swayed by the voices of others saying, "Do this." This clarity gives her stance such weight that people cannot explain why she seems so calm. Breaking free from others' expectations is a much greater freedom than you might think. The mind suddenly feels lighter. It's as if an invisible circle expands. The woman returns to her own time, her own pace, her own standards. This return often seems a little distant, a little aloof to outside observers, but in fact there is great peace within, because now she no longer needs anyone's approval. Some paths, when walked alone, become clearer. The crowd often just stirs up dust. A woman focused on her own goals is not worn down by the small expectations of daily life. People's criticisms, compliments, and suggestions, all of these are temporary. But the direction she has set for herself is permanent. That's why she always takes measured steps. When she gives up something, she doesn't feel the need to answer the question, why, because she has already answered it for herself. This is a great strength, even if it is not noticeable from the outside. After a while, such women create a strange gravitational pull around them, because independence carries a quiet charm. People don't understand why she seems so her own, but they feel it. They act cautiously when approaching her. They don't want to say the wrong thing, because everyone is instinctively more careful around a woman who protects her self-worth. As she lets go of burdens, not only her shoulders, but also her gaze changes. A woman who sticks to her goals also uses her time more wisely. She makes more conscious decisions about who to talk to, where to stand, and what to devote her energy to. She doesn't open the door to unnecessary relationships, She doesn't waste time on empty chatter. She doesn't let everyone into her life. This selectivity keeps her energy clean. Clean energy is then woven into her face, her posture, and her aura over the long term. A woman freed from the expectations of others becomes both more resilient and more distinct. Her beauty is visible not only on her face, but in the clarity of her decisions and the determination of her steps. People cannot explain why she leaves such an unforgettable impression, but they know that a woman who charts her own course carries an untouchable value. 10. Learn to speak briefly but clearly when expressing yourself. Sometimes a woman begins to speak in a conversation, and everyone around her suddenly becomes clear-minded, because how she says it carries as much weight as what she says. She does not resort to long explanations or convoluted sentences. She frames her thoughts simply. This simplicity, strangely, says more. A clarity that says, "I know what I think," inspires both curiosity and respect in the other person. Speaking briefly does not mean being emotionless. On the contrary, it means freeing oneself from emotional turmoil and setting one's thoughts on a clear path. A confident woman does not feel the need to exaggerate her words. She touches the very center without circling around the words. That is why what she says does not easily dissipate. Even 2 sentences she utters in a room can be more lasting than a long discussion, because clarity leaves no room for ambiguity. The weight of a word comes not from its length, but from its intention. Sometimes a single sentence carries an entire story within it. Selective expression is the disciplining of emotions. She does not shout when angry. She does not need long explanations when hurt. She does not create a dramatic flow when defending her rights. With a short sentence, she both sets her boundaries and closes the subject. This style surprises the other party, because most people talk to defend themselves. She talks to explain. The difference even changes the tone of energy. This clarity makes the woman both understandable and unattainable. What she says is clear, but the depth behind it is not easily decipherable. Her words end, but their effect lingers. As people ponder the underlying meaning, they find themselves becoming more attentive without realizing it. Someone who speaks concisely generally arouses curiosity because the gaps leave room for the imagination. Some silences speak louder than words. The habit of speaking clearly also gives her a natural authority in social settings. People behave more measuredly around her, because they cannot approach someone who knows what they are saying with careless words. She has a soft but sharp attitude. Even her simplest expression gathers the energy of the environment. It cuts out unnecessary clutter and sets the direction. A woman who can carry that fine line between simplicity and power does not want to blend in with the crowd to be seen, because her own presence is already distinct enough. Instead of being shaped by the expectations of others, she walks through her own goals. She channels her energy there, stores it there, nurtures it there. Nourishing herself with small rituals, she unconsciously radiates a quiet depth around her. It becomes something people can't quite describe but can feel. Her presence is as quiet as a whisper, but her impact is unexpectedly intense. That's why her beauty is not an easily understood beauty. She is both visible and one step behind. She carries a soft light, yet creates an unreachable space. She appears simple, yet she is not as ordinary as anything simple. The power she holds within cannot be contained in words. This is what makes her unforgettable, a weight that rises from her essence, not from ostentation. A silent yet lasting mark. That is why such a woman's beauty is called untouchable, because everyone who tries to define her falls short somewhere. If this video inspired you, please don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel, because every step we take together is the beginning of a stronger, more confident, and more radiant you. Beauty isn't just on your face. It's hidden in your choices, your courage, and the path you walk. Take care of yourself. Never underestimate your worth. Let's meet again in the next video, because as you shine, the world becomes a more beautiful place.